Welcome, brave souls, to the chilling depths of horror in detail. Today we're going to share Wendigo horror stories. First story. While out hunting, I saw a very strange man. Here in central Michigan, almost everybody hunts. Whether it's deer, rabbit, squirrel, turkey, or quail, we all hunt. So it's pretty common while I'm hunting on state land to run into a few other hunters. Normally it's just frustrating. You pick your spot, settle in, and sit quietly for an hour, only to have some jackass go wandering 20 yards from your tree stand right at prime time. This evening was one of those times when my hunt was interrupted. Only instead of getting angry at first, I was concerned, followed quickly by being terrified out of my mind. I got out to my stand around 4:30 p.m., got all settled and sat freezing my ass off for the next hour and a half, just watching the snowstorm come down. It was starting to get dark pretty quickly when to my left, I heard the sound every hunter loves hearing, footsteps. My heart immediately started to pump faster as my adrenaline started to kick in. Very slowly, I turned my head left so I wouldn't alert the animal coming in that I was awaiting 20 feet in the tree. Instead of seeing a deer walking up, though, it was a man. Instantly, my adrenaline turned to anger as yet again, my hunt was ruined. I stared him down, hoping he would look up and notice me in the tree, then turn around and go back the way he came. That way there'd be a slight chance I could still see some deer. Once he got about 20 feet from my stand, I noticed something was off about him. His body was completely stiff, his arms glued to his side, and he stared straight forward with stone expression on his face. His legs, however, were taking these huge, high-knee steps, like he was sort of marching/exercising. The heck? I whispered to myself. I was a little creeped out at his odd behavior, but not really scared yet. After a few seconds of watching him, I figured he was some liberal asshole intentionally ruining my hunt. I was just about to shout out to the weirdo and ask what the hell he was doing when a twig snapped a little ways off to my right. The guy froze, and his head snapped in the direction where the noise came from. He stared for a few seconds, then, out of nowhere, he took off running impossibly fast to whatever had caused the twig to snap. I stared slack-jawed at how fast he was running. I kid you not, he had to have been running well over 30 miles an hour, as he closed 60 or 70 yards in about 4 seconds. As he got to a tree, he scaled that tree faster than a squirrel can. My heart was hammering so loud at this point, I actually feared he would hear it and come for me next. The sounds of an animal screeching as it was being torn about rang through the woods. Whatever it was, he caught it and was what I'm guessing eating it alive. After a couple seconds of screeching, the woods fell completely silent, other than my frantic breathing. I closed my eyes and took 3 deep, slow breaths to settle my nerves. When I opened my eyes back up, my heart took another leap as the guy was standing 20 feet away, looking down in the snow at something. My footprints in the snow. Oh God, please no. I thought to myself. I'm not ashamed to admit I was in tears at this point. I was so afraid. I slowly reached to my side and put my hand on my pistol I always carry with me for in case it came down to me shooting this guy. I watched in horror as he slowly followed my footsteps. He crept along until he stood directly under my tree. Then he slowly lifted his head up until he looked directly at me. We stared at each other for a couple seconds until he put his hand on the ladder leading to my stand, getting ready to climb up. I was completely paralyzed in fear as I watched him slowly pull himself up the first step. Then, by the grace of God, I heard a voice somewhere in the distance. The creepy guy heard it too, and he hopped back down onto the ground. "Jim, I got one." I heard the guy in the distance shout to someone, probably his buddy. The guy under my stand took off running as fast as before toward the other hunter's voce. I saw my only chance to get out of here, so I undid my harness in record time and practically jumped out of the tree and started running back to my truck. Thankfully, I wasn't too far in and soon saw it over the small hill. I looked back to see if he was chasing me, but I was in the clear. "Whew." I got to my truck and threw my bow in and jumped in, starting it and pulling away as fast as I could. With snow, I wasn't able to drive as quickly as I wanted, but after an intense 10 minutes, I was back on the main road. I don't know what the hell that was, but I know one thing. I'm not hunting in Stateland ever again. Second story. Don't go camping in Oklahoma. All right. Now, this is a story I haven't told in a long time. It happened to me October, 6 years ago. I've told 4 or 5 people since then, and none of them believed me. I decided to stop talking about it when someone filed an anonymous tip to my school's psychologist. That was 4 years ago. I've had a lot of time to think about it since then, and I think I'm finally ready to post my story somewhere. It's about a weekend I spent in the Ouachita National Forest. I had been planning the trip for weeks. Made sure I had the weekend off work, didn't make any plans, all of that. Started buying supplies a week before I went. I was going to go camping in the forest near my town. I had been camping before when I was a little kid with my parents, but never as an adult, never by myself, and never in this forest. I was so excited. Now, I'm not an idiot. I took all the necessary precautions. I told a few of my friends where I was going, when I was going to be there, and when I'll be back. I told them if I go missing to call the cops, and all that. I brought an extra phone battery and enough food and water to last me a week. I even brought along the 9mm that my dad gave me when I turned 18. Never shot the damn thing, but I figure it would at least scare off whatever the hell wanted to mess with me. I'm telling you all of this, so you know that I'm not just some dumb kid who decided he wanted to take a trip to the forest one day and shit his pants 'cause he saw a bear. No, I knew what I was getting into. I was prepared. Just not for, well, this. Okay, enough backstory. I'll get on with it. I left around 6 in the morning. It's an hour drive from my place, so I was expecting to get there around 7. Ended getting there at 7:30, but I didn't mind. It was a lovely day, not a cloud in the sky, great weather. Camping in the cold and rain is miserable, so I was pretty content with my arrival time. I parked my car a ways away from the forest in a little clearing off the side of the road where I knew I would find it. I gathered my things, had a little snack, and headed off toward the forest. The next few hours are kind of boring, so I'll skip over them. All you need to know is that I made my way well into the forest, set up a camp, and started enjoying myself. Cooked myself lunch on the crummy campfire I made around noon. Watched a pair of birds dancing at each other. I even took a few pictures of some deer I saw with my phone. Couldn't get a good shot, but it's at least proof I was there. But something seemed off. You see, forests are normally kind of loud. Not like a city loud, but there's this constant background noise that is always going on. Rustling in bushes and leaves. Birds chirping, and animals prancing around. When I first got into the forest, that was all well and good. But the later it got, these sounds just started to go away. Not all at once. It took the better part of the day for me to notice. But yeah, the sounds slowly went away. Birds stopped chirping, bushes stopped rustling. I stopped seeing animals too. That's what made me notice. At around 4 in the afternoon, I realized that I hadn't seen a bird in a while. That unsettled me, truth be told. But I steeled myself and kept enjoying the stay. I was feeling kind of lonely, what with the quiet and all, so I called up a friend and chatted with him till sundown. After that, I realized it was getting late, so I hung up, ate again, and put out the fire. After a final assessment of my surroundings, a look at the wondrous night sky, I crawled into my tent to sleep. I kept the 9mm loaded right next to where I slept, just in case, you know? Sleeping on the cold ground in the middle of a forest isn't that easy if you aren't used to it, and considering I hadn't done it since I was a child, I was having a little trouble. It was probably just a rough estimate, 2 hours after I had lied down, that I started hearing something in nature again. Now, if I had heard bushes rustling a few hours earlier, this would have been cause for celebration. But even Bear Grylls would get creeped out if it was the only thing he'd heard all night. So I did what any rational human would have done and clung the 9mm like it was the only thing keeping me from falling off a cliff. There was silence for a few minutes. The only thing I could hear was my own shaky breath. Then, prancing, ba-da-da-dum, 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 4 footsteps in quick succession. No crunching of leaves or snapping of twigs. Just a steady beat. Ba-da-da-dum, ba-da-da-dum, ba-da-da-dum. It was getting louder, closer to my tent. I tried to peer through the fabric that separated me from nature, but I couldn't make out a silhouette. I clutched the rifle harder, scared as any person would be. I remember being sure that I would be safe, though. Even bears will rarely attack camps unprovoked. But that natural human fear, that was overbearing, making my mind wander and my hands shake. Ba-da-da-dum, ba-da-da-dum, ba-da-da. It stopped, close to my tent, just outside of my tent. I could feel its presence near me. It was totally silent. I knew that it couldn't have been a bear. It would be sniffing the tent right now, if it were. I doubted that it was a deer. They don't come out at night. Perhaps a wolf? They normally travel in packs, and even if it were a lone wolf, it wouldn't be a threat until I heard growling. But nothing. Just silence. And then it screeched. That's when I knew that that thing wasn't anything I'd seen before. Nothing makes that sort of sound. It was like a cross between some sort of bird and a human. Like the shit you hear in movies that possess people with their heads on backwards make. That's when I let fear take over in my bladder and in my hands. I fired the gun in its direction, and dear God, was that a mistake. It screeched again, and it scratched the tent, tearing through the fabric, leaving a massive gash in the side. That was my first look at it, if you could call it a look. I barely saw a silhouette through the hole in my tent, but I did see its long arms shredding the side of the tent. It was trying to get to me. I fired the rifle again, but I must have missed because it didn't flinch. That was when the flight reflex took over the fight, and I only wanted to do one thing: run. I turned around and fiddled with the opening of the tent, trying to keep my eye on the beast attacking me, but also trying to secure my escape as fast as I could. I did it and dove out of the tent, breaking into a full sprint. Behind me, I heard the thing still tearing into my tent. I thought that maybe it mistook its enemy or prey for the tent and not me. But that relief didn't last long. I wasn't far from the tent when I heard its rhythmic prancing again. Asterisk ba-da-da-dum, 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 asterisk FFF. It was faster than me, gaining on me. If I tried to outrun it, I would surely be caught. Just then, in what was either a moment of survivalist brilliance or suicidal stupidity, I stopped and dove into a thick bush near me. I remembered that many predators in the forest rely on seeing movement more than anything else. So if I could stay still, then it would not see me. That decision saved my life. It ran past me, stopping in the same place where I stopped. I didn't notice before I hid, but that spot is just under an opening in the trees. A pillar of light penetrated the oppressive dark, and, in the moonlight, I could see my assailant. It was pale, made paler by the white of the moon, and hairless. Thin, like it had not eaten in weeks. I want to say it looked humanoid, but comparing that thing to a human is just wrong. Its hunched back protruded out, making it look larger than any human. It stood on all fours in such a way that no human could, its rear low to the ground, its long legs bent in such a grotesque fashion that it almost resembled a frog, ready to leap. It circled around, silently, searching for me. I thought I was about to give up, but it threw its horrendous back upwards, and its legs straightened, and it stood. On two legs, like a person, a deformed, horrific human. And then it looked at me. It looked right at me. It saw me. I know it saw me. Nothing looks at you like that without seeing you. I could tell you the color of its damn eyes, and I bet you that it could tell you the color of mine. I clutched the rifle close to my chest. Too scared to use it, too scared to move. I closed my eyes and waiting for it to pounce, and then, ba-da-da-dum, ba-da-da-dum, ba-da-da-dum. I opened my eyes, and it was gone. I didn't move for the rest of the night. I fell asleep in that bush, cuddling with the rifle, until finally being awoken by the sounds of birds. Birds, thank God, birds. It was already daylight the next morning. I wearily stood up, using the rifle as a crutch to support my aching body. Things seemed to be normal. The forest was speaking once again, and birds and deer aplenty were in sight. I stumbles back to my camp to find my things mostly as I had left them. My tent was unsalvageable, but I took my backpack, had something to eat, and I left, just like I had planned. The entire trek back, I didn't stop looking around for that thing. I didn't let the gun leave my hands, either. It wasn't until I got to the car that I relaxed, calling my friend to tell him I was heading home. I didn't tell him about what had happened last night. I was still trying to process it myself. Shit, I don't think I understand wholly what had happened until after the car ride home. And that's where the story ends. 6 years ago, and I haven't gone camping since. I haven't seen the thing again, nor have I heard of anyone who's seen it. As a whole, my life has moved on completely. But I will never forget that thing. I will never forget how it stared at me, and how it just left. It knew I was there, but it left. Why did it do that? I don't think I'll ever get an answer. Third story. Wendigos, are they real? I'm Max, a guy who doesn't buy into all that supernatural jazz. My journey across Canada was a quest for serenity, a break from the chaos of the city. But fate had its own plans. I met Sarah on the road to the nearest town bordering the eerie Canadian forest. She's got this easygoing charm, a natural warmth that makes you feel like you've known her for ages. An artist by passion and an adventurer at heart, she seemed to find magic in every little thing. Our drive was smooth until we decided to take a less-traveled shortcut through the woods. Sarah was brimming with enthusiasm, pointing out every scenic spot and sharing quirky tales about the area. Then, as if the woods were playing a prank on us, my car decided it needed a break. With a splutter and a groan, it called it quits right in the middle of nowhere. Sarah handled the situation with her trademark grace, cracking jokes about forest spirits playing car pranks. Her laughter was a comforting melody amidst the encroaching dusk, especially as the sun dipped, casting strange shadows in the woods. I guess we're camping here tonight, I said, trying to sound cool, but my mind was racing, recalling those spine-tingling stories about these woods. Looks like an impromptu forest sleepover, Sarah quipped, her eyes twinkling with adventure. As twilight descended upon us, a mix of apprehension and curiosity settled in. Little did I know, that night in the woods was just the beginning of an extraordinary and unpredictable escapade. As the night wore on, the forest seemed to come alive in ways I couldn't comprehend. Sarah and I sat close, huddled by the dim light cast by the car, our minds grappling with the inexplicable silence that enveloped us. I've heard tales about these woods, Sarah began softly, her voice barely above a whisper. Whispers of ancient spirits, Wendigos lurking in the shadows, hungry for lost souls. My skepticism battled with a growing sense of unease. You don't really believe in that stuff, do you? I questioned, my voice tinged with a hint of disbelief. Sarah's gaze turned distant, as if she was peering into a realm beyond our understanding. There are things in this world, Max, things that defy logic and reason. Stories passed down through generations often carry fragments of truth, she murmured, her words hanging heavy in the still night air. The forest remained shrouded in an eerie quietude, broken only by the occasional rustle of leaves. I strained my ears, trying to decipher the cryptic language of the woods. Then, a chilling sound echoed through the night, a haunting, indescribable howl that seemed to emanate from the heart of the forest. Sarah's grip on my hand tightened, her eyes wide with a mix of fear and uncertainty. Tell me that's just an animal, I whispered, my voice betraying a trace of dread. But Sarah remained silent, her gaze fixed on the darkness beyond our refuge. It was as though the forest itself held its breath, acknowledging the presence of something otherworldly. As the night wore on, sleep eluded us, the air thick with anticipation and an unspoken understanding that we were not alone in these woods. The paranormal tales I once scoffed at now hovered at the edge of my consciousness, leaving me to grapple with the inexplicable and the unknown. The night stretched endlessly, an unyielding embrace of mystery and foreboding. Little did I know, the secrets these woods held were far more profound and unsettling than anything I had ever imagined. Nightfall enveloped us. Every shadow seemed to harbor a secret, and each whisper of the wind fueled the tension that had settled between Sarah and me. We stayed alert, our senses heightened, listening to every crack and rustle in our surroundings. Suddenly, a sound shattered the stillness. A branch snapping. We exchanged concerned glances, our hearts pounding in unison in the darkness. Fears of the unknown hijacked our imaginations. Then, emerging from the shadows, a figure appeared. With cautious steps, it drew nearer to us. The atmosphere became stifling, filled with an expectant silence. As it approached, the moonlight revealed its identity, a dog. Not just any dog. It wore a handmade collar woven with tiny bones, emitting an unsettling yet intriguing aura. That's the dog I saw on the wanted posters in the town, murmured Sarah, her voice a mix of relief and surprise. The canine drew closer, its eyes expressing gratitude and a peculiar kind of camaraderie, as if it knew us somehow. Despite the eerie collar, its gaze conveyed a sense of calmness, as if reassuring us that we were safe. The tension gradually dissipated as the dog settled by our feet, seeking refuge and protection. Though its initial presence had enshrouded us in mysterious suspense, we now felt a sense of relief, realizing that perhaps the only being lurking in these woods was this faithful companion. We stood there, in the stillness of the night, the dog at our side, gazing at the stars as uncertainty gave way to a sense of connection with this creature who, somehow, had found its way to us amidst the darkness. With the dog nestled by our side, a calm settled over us. Sarah and I found ourselves drawn into a conversation that delved beyond the surface, revealing aspects of ourselves we hadn't shared before. "You strike me as someone who loves a good challenge," Sarah remarked, breaking the comfortable silence that had settled between us. I chuckled softly. Guilty as charged. I tend to dive headfirst into things, seeking that thrill of the unknown. Sarah nodded thoughtfully. "I've always been drawn to art, to stories that breathe life into the mundane. They help me see beyond what's visible, finding beauty in the unnoticed." Her words resonated with me, drawing a parallel to my own quest for the extraordinary. "I get that," I replied. "Sometimes the world's magic lies in the smallest details, the stories waiting to be told." As our conversation meandered through our passions and quirks, the tension of the night seemed to dissipate, replaced by a genuine connection. We shared stories of childhood adventures, dreams we harbored, and fears we kept hidden. "So what brings you to these parts?" I finally asked, curiosity nudging me to uncover more about her. Sarah smiled softly. "I seek inspiration in the unexplored. There's an energy here, a mystique that whispers tales waiting to be painted." Her words stirred something within me, a longing for a deeper connection with the world around me. "I guess we're not that different," I admitted. I embarked on this journey to find a piece of myself I felt was missing. As the night wore on, our conversation flowed effortlessly, each revelation strengthening the bond between us. With the dog as our silent companion, we found solace in the shared tales of our lives, unveiling layers of our personalities under the starlit sky. The night wrapped us in an eerie calmness. Sarah and I were engrossed in our conversation when the forest fell into an unsettling stillness. I shivered, an inexplicable unease settling in my bones. "You know, when a forest goes silent, it's rarely a good sign," I muttered, an involuntary chill creeping down my spine. It was a truth I'd learned in my wilderness treks. A silence like this hinted at lurking danger. Before Sarah could respond, a deafening, inhuman cry pierced the silence. The dog bolted, its fur bristling as it dashed towards the source of the sound, disappearing into the dense woods. What in the world was that? Sarah gasped, her eyes wide with alarm. "Maybe an elk, or something else," I replied, trying to mask my own unease with rationality. But deep down, I knew that sound didn't belong to any forest creature I'd ever encountered. Instinct kicked in, adrenaline surging through me as we chased after the dog, our footsteps pounding against the forest floor. The darkness seemed to swallow us whole as we ventured deeper into the woods. Each step echoed with an unspoken fear, the rustling leaves and cracking branches around us a haunting symphony. Where did he go? Sarah's voice trembled, panic lacing her words. I don't know, but we need to find him, I urged, my heart racing with a mix of worry and foreboding. As we pushed deeper into the forest's heart, an ominous realization gripped us. Something beyond the ordinary lurked within these woods. We plunged deeper into the darkened woods. Our frantic calls for the dog met with a haunting silence. The air hung heavy with tension, every step echoing our growing apprehension. Then, amidst the oppressive silence, a thunderous rhythm of galloping footsteps thundered toward us. Panic surged through me, primal instincts kicking in. Run! I shouted to Sarah, the urgency in my voice betraying the fear clawing at my insides. Our feet pounded against the forest floor, a cacophony of terror-fueled steps. The thundering sound seemed to gain on us, getting closer with each passing moment. But in that panic sprint, I stumbled, my foot catching on a protruding root. I pitched forward, the ground rushing up to meet me. A sickening crack echoed through the woods as my head connected with an unforgiving rock, and darkness enveloped me. The last thing I remember is a flurry of movement, Sarah's voice calling out my name in desperation, and the thundering gallops fading into an ominous silence as everything went black. A faint, distant murmur pulled me from the abyss of unconsciousness. My eyes blinked open to a world draped in shadowy hues. Panic surged as I sat up, the dry crust of blood on my forehead sending shivers down my spine. The forest lay before me, desolate and eerily silent. Sarah, I called out, my voice barely a whisper in the vastness of the woods. No response. No signs of the faithful canine companion either. A feeble light filtered through the dense canopy, casting a muted glow. Had dawn broken? No, it hadn't. I realized with a sinking feeling that I'd been unconscious for almost a day. Hours remained until the onset of another night, another cycle of darkness. Fumbling to my feet, a disorienting wave of dizziness swept over me. The world spun as I steadied myself against a nearby tree, a pounding headache pulsating in tandem with my racing heart. I frantically searched for any signs of Sarah, any clue about what had transpired in my absence. But the woods held on to their secrets, whispering nothing but an ominous quietude. Gritting my teeth against the fear threatening to overwhelm me, I knew I had to find her, find some semblance of answers before the shroud of night descended once more. The forest stood poised in a liminal state, caught between the fading remnants of the night and the impending darkness. And in this eerie in-between, I stood alone, with the chilling realization that the mysteries of these woods had only just begun to unfold. Staggering through the silent woods, I felt the weight of impending darkness bearing down on me. The hours had slipped away, leaving behind an ominous hush that settled over the trees like a heavy shroud. I stumbled forward, each step an arduous effort as I fought against both physical and emotional exhaustion. Fear and a desperate need to find Sarah surged within me, propelling me deeper into the heart of the woods. Then, amidst the suffocating quietude, a distant echo caught my attention. A soft whimper, almost imperceptible. My heart skipped a beat. Was it the dog? Could it be Sarah? Driven by hope, I followed the sound, branches clawing at me as I pushed through the dense underbrush. The fleeting light dimmed further, a foreboding chill seeping into the air. As I advanced, the faint glimmer of the moon illuminated a figure lying on the forest floor. Relief washed over me as I recognized Sarah's silhouette, curled up beneath the canopy of trees. Sarah, I called out, my voice trembling with a mix of worry and relief. She stirred, her eyes fluttering open, but something seemed amiss. Max, what happened? Her voice was weak, tinged with confusion. I knelt beside her, my heart pounding with a whirlwind of emotions. I don't know. We got separated, I fell, and then I woke up alone. A fleeting sense of safety washed over us, finding solace in each other's presence in the heart of this enigmatic forest. Yet, as the last traces of light faded from the sky, the encroaching darkness whispered of untold dangers, reminding us that the night held secrets we were yet to uncover. The chill of the night wrapped around us, a constant reminder of the lurking mysteries in these woods. Sarah and I huddled together, seeking warmth and reassurance amidst the encroaching darkness. But as the night wore on, a persistent unease settled within me, a gnawing feeling that something wasn't right. A sharp pang sliced through my temples, a sudden, intense pain seizing my senses. I winced, gripping my head, trying to ward off the crippling ache. It felt as though my skull was splitting apart, a relentless assault on my senses. I collapsed to the forest floor, the pain overwhelming any coherent thought. Darkness encroached at the edges of my vision, threatening to pull me under. With a desperate gasp, I fought against the encroaching unconsciousness. When I finally awoke, it was to a world cloaked in the eerie glow of midnight. Confusion clouded my mind as I tried to piece together the events. But as awareness flooded back, a stark realization struck me with chilling clarity. I wasn't with Sarah. Instead, the loyal canine companion lay beside me, its gentle eyes peering at me with a mix of concern and familiarity. Panic surged through me as I struggled to comprehend the twisted reality. My mind had played a cruel trick, conjuring a false narrative amidst the chaos of the head injury. I had mistaken the dog for Sarah in my delirium. Frantic and disoriented, I called out for Sarah, the echoes of my voice swallowed by the silent expanse of the woods. But there was no response, no trace of her amidst the shadows that stretched across the forest floor. Reality crashed down upon me like a relentless wave. The impact had not only disoriented me physically, but it shattered the fragile illusion of safety and companionship in this desolate place. I was alone, lost in a realm of uncertainty and unforeseen dangers. Gathering my scattered thoughts, I tried to retrace my steps, to make sense of the fragmented memories and the ominous events that had unfolded. The dog stayed by my side, a silent companion offering solace in the midst of confusion. With a heavy heart, I embarked on a solitary journey through the haunting woods, each step a reminder of the tangled web of mysteries that awaited me. The night whispered secrets I was yet to decipher, and the shadows concealed truths that eluded my grasp. As the moon cast its silvery glow upon the landscape, I pressed forward, driven by a relentless determination to unravel the enigma that had entangled me in this surreal and treacherous journey. The clearing in the forest appeared suspended in a perpetual state of desolation. Life had withered away, leaving behind a landscape of wilted vegetation and an eerie silence. My steps echoed in the emptiness, breaking the ominous quietness that enveloped the place. Small scattered skeletons and the complete absence of any animal life painted a disconcerting picture, one that evoked a deep sense of fear within me. My gaze fixated on the cave that stood in the distance, a dark opening that seemed to be the epicenter of this desolation. A cold, damp draft escaped its mouth, like a mysterious whisper calling me toward its interior. My mind grappled between curiosity and the instinctual warning that this place wasn't safe. What secrets or dangers lay hidden within that cavernous darkness? My heart pounded, uncertainty clouding my thoughts. The dog, my silent companion in this surreal journey, remained by my side, its eyes filled with loyalty and an uncanny animal wisdom. Its presence seemed to offer a sliver of courage amidst the darkness. The mystery shrouding the cave was palpable, an enigmatic invitation tempting my curiosity and challenging my prudence. Was it wise to venture into the jaws of the unknown? I couldn't ignore the sense of danger that clung to my intuition. Time hung suspended in a moment of hesitation, my mind weighing the possibilities while my instincts urged caution. Night was looming, its shadows slowly encroaching upon the clearing, a subtle warning that time was running short. Then, a decision solidified within me, fueled by the need for answers and the will to confront whatever awaited in the darkness. With cautious steps, I approached the cave's entrance, every fiber of my being alert to any hint of danger. The dog emitted a soft growl, its gaze fixed on the cave's mouth, as if trying to warn me of something invisible to my eyes. Its gesture reignited my unease, but an indomitable impulse pushed me forward. With a deep breath, I crossed the threshold of the cave, plunging into the darkness that devoured the light. The air grew denser, laden with an earthy and mysterious aroma, as if it were imbued with centuries of secrets held within the earth's depths. The echo of my footsteps reverberated against the rocky walls, my hands feeling the cold contours of the cave, searching for any clue that might guide me. The darkness was overwhelming, but a glimmer of determination burned within me, propelling me forward in search of answers. Each step was a challenge, an internal struggle between the desire to uncover the truth and the terror of the unknown. The cave seemed like an endless maze, its secrets hidden in the shadows, waiting to be unraveled or forever guarded by the veil of mystery. The dog remained by my side, its comforting presence amidst the dimness. Its animal senses seemed alert, its eyes scanning the surroundings as if anticipating some hidden danger in the darkness. A distant whisper echoed in the cavern, a barely perceptible murmur that enveloped my senses with a sense of unease. Was the cave witness to an ancient secret, or was it the dwelling place of something more sinister? Time blurred in the darkness, each minute feeling like an eternity as I ventured deeper into the cavern's depths. More and more, the sense of intrigue mingled with the palpable fear that stirred in the rarefied air. Amidst the blackness, a revelation materialized. The challenge of the cave lay not only in its nooks and passageways, but in the enigmas and dangers that lurked, concealed within, challenging my courage and sanity. As I ventured deeper into the cavern, shadows danced ominously on the walls, amplifying the eerie silence that enveloped the space. The air grew heavier, thick with an unidentifiable scent that sent shivers down my spine. Then, in the dimness, shapes began to emerge, bodies strewn across the cave floor, a macabre sight that froze the blood in my veins. My heart sank at the grim reality of death that surrounded me. Amidst the lifeless forms, a sense of dread gripped me as I noticed Sarah lying unconscious but miraculously alive among the corpses. With urgency coursing through my veins, I hurried toward her, intent on rescuing her from this haunting place. But as I approached, the dog, sensing something amiss, grew restless, its bark piercing the oppressive silence of the cave. Before I could reach Sarah, a bone-chilling presence filled the cavern, an entity that defied the laws of nature and reason. The Wendigo, towering over 2 meters tall, its form contorted and unsettling, staggered into the cave, its very presence a manifestation of primal terror. I retreated, seeking cover among the lifeless bodies and foliage, my breath hitching in fear. The Wendigo's ominous aura seemed to suffocate the air, its looming figure casting a malevolent shadow over the scene. My heart pounded in my chest as I watched in horror, hidden from view, as the monstrous entity approached the dog, its movements predatory and menacing. The poor creature's barks turned to whimpers, a futile attempt at warding off the inevitable. With a single, brutal strike, the Wendigo ended the dog's life, a sight that pierced through my soul like a dagger. I clenched my teeth to stifle a cry, a wave of helplessness washing over me as the creature began to feed on the life it had just extinguished. Terror rooted me to the spot, my body trembling as I bore witness to the gruesome spectacle unfolding before my eyes. The Wendigo's insatiable hunger was a harrowing sight, its savagery a stark reminder of the unfathomable horrors lurking within these accursed woods. I prayed for some semblance of escape from this waking nightmare, but the darkness of the cave held me captive, a silent witness to the unspeakable brutality of this unearthly being. The plan had formed in my mind, even amidst the horror unfolding before me. With determination, I approached Sarah, assessing her delicate condition. Her injured leg was a concern, and her unconscious state added a layer of difficulty to our imminent escape. The creature, oblivious to my presence, had retreated from the cave after its grisly meal. I knew I had to act swiftly before it returned in search of more prey. Carefully, I lifted Sarah in my arms, her body light but fragile. Concern for her well-being mingled with the urgency to flee that accursed place. Every step was a challenge, each movement calculated to avoid causing further harm to Sarah's injured leg. The weight of responsibility clung to my shoulders. Time was not on our side. The mouth of the cave loomed before me, the hope of escaping that inferno beginning to take shape. But every rustle in the forest, every shadow shifting in the darkness, fueled my fear of being discovered by that monstrous being lurking in the shadows. With each step, the urgency grew. The exit was in sight when a shiver ran down my spine, a foreboding sense warning me that the Wendigo was nearing. The sound of crunching branches and a menacing hiss echoed behind me. There was no time to waste. With a superhuman effort, I quickened my pace, dodging the danger and entering the relative safety of the forest. My ragged breaths and the weight of Sarah in my arms combined with the anxiety of escaping that living nightmare. Each inhale, each beat of my heart, was a reminder of the struggle for survival. I ran as fast as I could, seeking refuge and protection for Sarah and myself. The forest seemed conspiratorial, every noise, every shadow, igniting the fear that was engulfing me. Finally, I found a secure hiding spot, far from the cave and beyond the Wendigo's reach. I carefully placed Sarah in a safe location, watching over her with concern while attempting to keep at bay the panic threatening to engulf me. My mind raced, weighing options, seeking a way to get help or find an escape from that torment. But for now, the priority was to ensure we were out of that creature's reach, find assistance, and a path to salvation. Unfortunately, what I've told you isn't my story. While Max and Sarah did exist, well, they existed. I'm just a search and rescue guy tasked with finding these people. As part of the search and rescue team, our priority was locating two missing individuals, Max and Sarah. Their disappearance had us on edge, and our efforts to find them led us deep into an undisclosed and secluded area. Amidst the dense forest, we stumbled upon a discovery that sent shivers down our spines: a weathered notebook. Its contents held a gripping tale, a first-hand account of harrowing encounters with an unknown creature. The details were vivid, the emotions raw, and every entry felt like a real-life experience. As I read through the pages, the story transitioned into a warning. It seemed to convey the inherent danger of the events described, urging extreme caution for anyone daring to venture into that area. The descriptions of the creature were so vivid and haunting that they felt eerily tangible. The authenticity of the notebook's account struck a chord within the team. We couldn't dismiss it as mere fiction. The descriptions were too detailed, too genuine to ignore. The warning it carried felt like a genuine caution against something inexplicable. Our search for Max and Sarah yielded no results, leaving us with more questions than answers. The notebook remained a cryptic piece of the puzzle, hinting at a reality too unfathomable for conventional explanation. As a seasoned member of the search and rescue team, it was a stark reminder of the unforeseen dangers lurking in unexplored territories. We handled the notebook with caution, treating its contents as a solemn warning, a testament to the potential perils of the unknown. And yes, we found that cave, but no one was inside, just rests of that dog and some strange wood sticks figures with some hair, and somehow it was DNA compatible with those people. Fourth story. My hometown is missing. I've spent the last hour Googling the name of my hometown. Nothing is there. All of the local schools, all of the local restaurants, gone. Even my social media is messed up. I can't find any of my friends online. I can't find anybody. I'm actually kind of freaking out about it. Has anybody ever experienced anything like this before? Don't believe me? Try it yourself. Folleton City High? Gone. Folleton Middle? Gone. Folleton Elementary School? Gone. Folleton City College? Gone. That preschool behind the tire place and next to that McDonald's which my mom took us to growing up? You get the idea. All gone. Thousands of people. Dozens of places. I can't find information for anybody. It's like we disappeared. I can't even reach the cops. I wish that were the only problem. My family and I woke up this morning to a total blackout. Every single house on the block lost power. That does tend to happen out here in the valley, often enough that my older brother Mark rigged his computer to get a connection via satellite. The two of us are currently crouched beside the generator, desperately trying to get a handle on the past few hours. My parents are panicking. They won't say anything. They won't say why, but we have our suspicions. I saw something in the woods last night. Right before the power went out, when it was still dark outside, Mark woke me up and pulled me over to his bedside window. He pointed frantically into the trees behind our house. It was raining. The mist made it difficult for my eyes to adjust. But after a moment, something big, we only agree on something big, darted towards the neighbor's back porch. A thick branch fell in its wake. Then somebody screamed. My parents rushed into the room right at that moment. I guess they heard the commotion and freaked. Mom beckoned for us to get away from the window. I gave in right away because my parents can be scary when we don't listen, but Mark lingered there a little while longer. I didn't see what he saw. Mark whispered that he saw somebody running. He said it looked like they were running away from something. My father turned off the lights. I found that odd, and pushed my brother aside. He squinted out the window in silence. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, he concluded nothing was there, just wind in the trees. Then the power went out. My parents have been acting very weird ever since. During the day, my mom tried to keep us in the kitchen. She made breakfast, lunch, and dinner over the fireplace. She even broke out a board game in the afternoon, and we played for a couple hours. She kept asking about schoolwork, or football, or baseball, or anything but the odd situation we were in. We tried to change the subject, tried to ask her what was happening outside, but it was no use. She ignored our questions. My father had a wild look in his eyes. Mark and I can't recall anything like it. He kept rushing to check the window every few minutes. Then he would sit down to check his cell phone, then back to the window, then back to his phone, like clockwork. Each rotation left him more agitated than the last. The cable didn't work. The internet had been spotty. There was really nothing to do but read a book or play a game. Mark asked to go for a walk before dinner. I thought Mom might pop the temple out of her forehead. Nobody goes outside, she snapped. There could be live wires on the ground. Mark snorted. Watch your attitude, she barked. And keep the windows closed. I asked why, and she just stared at me with these deadly, fearful eyes that made me really uncomfortable. She looked like she wanted to tell me something, but my father answered instead. I didn't even realize he was listening. Nobody goes outside. I returned to my book without argument. I found one of my mom's old Stephen King collections and stumbled onto a story about rats in a basement bigger than a man. Time moved a little faster while I read. The walls of my house started to evaporate. It didn't take long for my imagination to disappear down the stairwell in the story, plunging further into the darkness with each step, listening to untold things move around me perilously through the blackness. Somebody knocked on the door around 10 p.m. After an entire day of endless boredom, I thought this might be salvation. Maybe a maintenance worker, maybe a neighbor, maybe my friend from down the block finally convinces mother to traverse the minefield of imaginary live wire. I got up from my chair to answer the door. My father sprinted across the room to block me. I don't think I had ever seen him run before. He put his hand over my mouth. I tried to protest. He squeezed my arm. He didn't look angry. He looked scared. His eyes were on fire. It grew quiet outside, like somebody was listening. One finger over his lips told me shut up. I looked over to my mom and saw her doing the same thing to my brother. He looked like he wanted to cry. The knocking resumed. The pace was pleasant. At first, your typical formal but friendly rat-tap-tap. Then a pause. Then rat-tap-tap. I was confused. Why were they scared? Why would a burglar knock? I thought that this could be somebody who could tell us what was going on, and it annoyed me that my parents were paranoid, so I got the idea to try saying something anyway. Not my best thought. He dashed. My father grabbed me by the throat and pushed me up against the wall. His sweaty palm slipped against my mouth. He raised one finger to his lips and held it there. Rat-tap-tap, 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 rat-tap-tap-rat-tap-tap, rat-tap-tap, rat-tap-tap-rat-tap-tap, rat-tap-tap. My brother whimpered in the corner. The door hinges whined from the pressure of the knocks. My father reached into his pocket with the hand that was formerly placed around my neck. I knew he had a knife in there. Rat-tap-tap, 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 rat-tap-tap. And just as soon as it started, the knocking stopped. The house got quiet again. My father let go of me. It's been hours since the knocker left. My parents still won't talk to us. My mom is sleeping on the couch. My dad is sitting in front of the door with a gun across his lap. Can anyone please tell us what is happening in Fullerton City? I still can't find anything online. We are available through message and comment as long as our connection holds. I don't think I'll sleep much tonight. It's too quiet. Fifth story. Something from the woods is stalking me. I don't know what I did to conjure or invite this thing in my life. I'm afraid to be alone, so I'm currently sitting in a crowded station. I'm afraid to fall asleep, so I'm slamming coffee. I'm afraid of what IT might do if it got the chance. I'll provide the backstory, but I need your help. Nah sleep, and man, do I need it bad. 1 week. It's only been 1 week since this nightmare started. I had just moved to Seattle a month or so ago to start med school. This exciting and fresh opportunity for a single girl to get out of the boring Midwest was everything I could have hoped for. I landed a sweet job in a bio lab that works with disease control and different mutations, and essentially, it's as close to the Walking Dead world as I can get without becoming an extra in the show. My current predicament has nothing to do with all that. However, it started when I decided to change up my running routine. For the first part of my first month, I would run all over Seattle, Pike Place, WSU campus, Waterfront Park, and of course the city. So I decided that with fall coming up, I'd take a run through one of the wooded surrounding areas, really see that beautiful Washington State scenery everyone is always raving about. I won't tell you which area I chose, for I fear this is where it began and don't want to put anyone else in this situation. Of course, Seattle is well known for its ghosts as well as the creatures in its woods. But like everyone who reads horror novels and enjoys horror movies, I assumed this couldn't happen to me. I was wrong. It was a crisp Saturday morning. I laced up my shoes, left my roommate a note where I'd be. I watch way too much ID channel shows about girls never telling anyone where they go running, and then some creep picks them up and headed out. The trail was absolutely gorgeous, but it was packed, and I'm not used to being in an area where everyone is so active. So, naturally, when I saw a vacant path that veered from the normal trail, I was inclined to take it. As I ran a little further in, however, I could see the reason why no one took it. It was dark as hell and freezing. I guess the sunlight was so blocked out from the towering pines that the temperature had dropped about 12 degrees. Then, things started to get really strange. All nature sound seemed to cease. The only noise I could hear was a faint snapping of branches. It would stop every minute and would be followed by that eerie silence. The snapping seemed to be moving closer, and as it approached, it sounded like someone was wheezing, like they had just ran a marathon. So, I decided to nope the hell out of there. As I turned to return to the populated trail, I heard from somewhere in the dark a sort of cackled whisper. All the better to eat you with, my dear. Did you ever get that electric ear tingle when someone whispers in your ear? Yep. Needless to say, I picked up my pace, and all the while, out of the corners of my peripheral, I could see a figure. It appeared to be skip-sprinting about 100 yards to the right side of me. My first thought was, great, a crazy homeless woodsman, but when I sped up and tried ignoring him, it continued to keep pace with me a little too long. Finally, I mustered up enough courage to look over my shoulder. Skipping in long, exaggerated gestures was this man, woman, thing. It was completely gray with long arms that ended in the sharpest nails. Still moving, it turned to face me. No nose, big bloodshot eyes, and the largest mouth that was spread into the most sinister and painful smile I've ever seen. Each one of its teeth were sharp and extended over each other like one of those fish with the lights on their heads. It raised its arm and did a little wave, drumming its fingers as if to say, "Oh, hello there." First thought that came to my mind, oh my God, what big teeth he has. I saw its mouth move as if in response to my thoughts, and heard the same whisper right against my ear, although this time it seemed to be making a promise. All the better to eat you with, my dear. I don't think I've ever screamed so hard in my life. I fell into the path of crowded people who probably thought I was a lunatic. I scrambled to turn around and see the creature. It was there waving at me and still smiling that terrifying smile. As I screamed and pointed into the woods, one thing became clear: no one else could see him. I bolted for the car, just wanted to be back in my safe apartment, and I could have sworn I heard the faintest singing in the highest octave. Hush, little baby. Don't say a word. I'm just going to rip out your vocal cords. Sixth story. I helped a Wendigo, and I regret it all. When this happened, I was living in a small town with lots of forest nearby. It was small, and everybody was friendly with each other. Living in an area where everyone knows everyone, my ma and pa didn't really take stranger danger seriously. Don't hop in a stranger's van. Don't take candy from people you don't know well, is the most I was told. Being young at the time I was taught this, I wasn't told why. I wasn't told of how monstrous humans could truly be. In my innocent mind, I saw no reasons for a person to want to hurt others. I believe this for most other creatures too. I wasn't afraid of animals or insects. So, it was no surprise that this would have happened, seeing how stupid I was. It was in early spring, and I was going for a usual walk through the neighborhood and into the local woods. Admiring the flowers and listening to the birds' calls, I was drawn further into the darkness that was that forest. Soon, I didn't even know where I was. The trees weren't familiar. I was deeper into the woods than I'd gone before. And just before I traced my steps back home, I heard something. Help! The voice was dry, raspy, and quiet. It sounded strained, like whoever was speaking felt pain to do so. I turned back, tried to find out who or what was calling for me, although my innocent mind was certain it was a person. Over here, I followed the voice, and soon found the creature in front of me, its long limbs wrapped in the thorny brambles it was trapped in, its face covered by its long, blood-soaked hair. Please, help me, child. Despite what I wanted to do, my gut told me not to go closer to it. It was dangerous. I ignored the feeling. As I tried to remove the brambles from the creature's body, I only succeeded in cutting my hands. I can't get you out, I sadly told the creature. Try harder. You don't want me to die here, do you? It shook its head, removing the few vines I'd managed to pull off its antlers. Of course I don't want you to die. I then remember my mother's pruning shears. I'd seen her use them to cut plants before, so they should work, right? We'll be right back. I can get some tools to cut you free. As I got up to leave, it grabbed my leg. Don't go. I'll be lonely. We can free me later. The creature pulled me back down to the ground. I stared at it again, noticing all the bones poking through its skin. That's all it really was. Skin and bones. Breaking the eerie silence, it spoke again. My name is Inoki. What is yours? I didn't hesitate to respond. I'm T. After that, we started to talk more. Until the sun started going down, then I went home. That night, I stayed awake in bed, wondering about my new friend. How'd he get stuck there, anyway? The next day, I brought the pruning shears, and with some effort, I removed the brambles. Inoki never thanked me for the help. He just tried to stand up, but he was too wounded to move. I innocently asked, "Do you want me to go get my parents? They have Band-Aids." But he shook his head. I need more than that. I need food to get stronger. And so I ran home and got some food, mostly biscuits and some bread. I can't eat that. He turned away from the food in disgust. What do you eat then? He looked around and then pointed at a small bird. It had gotten tangled in the nearby brambles. It was thrashing around, trying to get free. Go get that for me. I remember feeling scared in that moment. I love birds. Whenever I found a wounded one, I tried to take care of it before my pa would take it to the vet while secretly just putting it down. But without even realizing what I was doing, I'd already removed the bird from the brambles. I watched in horror as Inoki ate the poor thing. He didn't seem to like it, but he did anyway. I kept visiting him every day, bringing him more birds or other poor animals for weeks. He was looking better each day, yet still bone thin, until eventually I came to him with another bird. He wasn't sitting in the place he always sat. I called out for him, but he didn't come. Then I heard the trees above me shake. I looked up, just in time to run as it jumped down and chased after me. It caught up to me in no time. It had longer legs and was faster, and it grabbed my leg, and its claws sunk into me. I screamed and screamed until half of the local neighborhood came running into the woods. One or two even had guns, but Inoki got away before he could be killed. I never set foot into the woods again. After I was patched up and told my story to the local newspaper, I was told about what Inoki really was. A Wendigo. I was told I was goddamned lucky to have gotten away, but stupid to have even helped him. My parents moved away after that, and I was properly taught about stranger danger. Thanks a lot for watching the video. Till the end, subscribe to Horror in Detail for more videos. Drop your suggestions in comment section.